Hello, witches. This is High Priestess Jamila, and I wanted to come and talk about a magical herb called Mandrake. Yes, let's talk about it. And I am going to just really uh, talk about it from more of a intuitive perspective. Um, as far as this discussion, but then also give you guys some information and some understanding and tips and warnings and precautions about it. Um, I have had mandrake root in my possession um, quite often in the past several years, especially since starting my spiritual practice. And I will tell you that it does come from the nightshade family, which can be very poisonous. I think mainly it can be poisonous if you eat it, but also it can be poisonous if you put it in your simmer pot. I wouldn't be putting it in my simmer pot nor burning it over coals or even burning it in my fires. I just would not do that um, because I wouldn't want to get any nasty side effects from it. Um, but nonetheless, it's still an amazing herb to have if you are brave. I think that just recently I got a hold of some mandrake root when I did a re-up on my herbs. Re-up, that's so funny. Anyway, I had gotten supply of herbs basically, and so of course when it comes to mandrake root, um, it should be something that is well known that you want to be very careful with it. Um, in fact, you know, I recently touched it with my bare hands, um, but, from here on out, I plan to use gloves whenever I use it just because of the psychoreactive and delirium it can cause, possibly if it soaks into the skin. And, I think that it's it's an okay thing to know that when you have this particular herb in your possession to not take it for granted. Um, it's extremely useful for, protection and spiritual defense and love and money and prosperity and abundance. But you just want to really be careful with it. And so I was thinking about it for some reason because I just had it kind of sitting on my table. And I've had it for a few days, and I just, I decided to go ahead and treat it the way that it should. Now I have a glass bottle of it sitting on my Santa Muerta altar, and then I also have what I have in reserve. I have it behind her statuette, and it just is kind of like where I wanted to keep it. But pretty soon, what I want to do, or what I will be doing, is keeping it in a black velvet bag and keeping it put up because it should be kept with caution, and you want to not keep it out where, any little kids can get to it. And you just want to treat the mandrake um, as it is, which is something very sacred. This is something that could potentially um, cause death, like if it's consumed. And you definitely, like I said, you shouldn't be putting it in your simmer pot or burning it. However, I actually saw a few ads for mandrake root incense. And so I can imagine if you take a small bit of it and, mix it with something or either, dilute it, people can make incense out of it. I don't see any reason why um, I would need to be using it as incense unless you feel like you need to break through some kind of barrier for astral travel, or if the situation is that dire. Um, However, sandalwood to me would be a good enough incense, or maybe even storax would be a good enough incense as opposed to that. But I think that in maybe witch bottles or either mojo bags, um, or either just to keep it, you can keep it. And what's crazy is that the last house that I lived in, I did not have any mandrake root. It's so weird, and I probably needed it there because it can actually chase away unwanted demons, which was so weird that I didn't have it. But it is what it is. But you can keep it on your fireplace mantle or either just somewhere in your home, maybe the kitchen, maybe, but typically the hearth of the house, and for prosperity and protection of the home. Um, when I was connecting with the herb, though, because basically I had it, like I said, I had it sitting on my table, and all of a sudden that mandrake spirit kind of came to me, and I think that that spirit of that herb wanted me to know how serious it was, okay? And so my plans for it is to use it for protection and defense, obviously, and then even some necromancy purposes that involve protection, okay? Um, but mandrake, if you look it up in a dictionary, the meaning of it means an unpleasant or unwanted person or thing, something to be rooted up, okay, or a pestilential growth or obsolete. Now, that's just the, English meaning of it in the dictionary. However, when us witches, when we use it, obviously it would be useful for us as far as with magic, the magical properties of it would be useful for us. Of course, if you needed to cast out some unwanted things in your life. And what I've noticed is that it does definitely work for that, providing that protective barrier. And then also, I feel that it does definitely help with protection from unwanted astral travelers or things coming in. And it just has a lot of multiple purposes and uses for it. But I think that the main thing, what I would suggest is consecrating it. If you get some of it, just in your herb order, make sure that you consecrate it at some point, either immediately or within a week. I would consecrate it. Um, and consecrating something is actually very powerful because you're telling that herb what to do. Now, obviously, if you were to just start eating the mandrake root, it's gonna more than likely be poisonous, and it can easily. It's a sedative. It's a powerful narcotic. It's an emetic. It's a hallucinogen, and its poisons can easily lead to death. But it's also something that can increase fertility. Okay, and so if you use it properly, then it is going to jumpstart healing of whatever, It's also an aphrodisiac that could increase fertility. But if that to some people would be healing, okay? And then also getting something out that's bad, okay? Um, so I think that the mandrake, being that when it comes up out of the ground, it looks like a person. It looks like a man or a woman. And traditionally in witchcraft, it was used for hand fasting and fertility rituals. So it symbolizes a person, the body of a person. And I think that that is what is so mystical about it, to where it has its own personality, and depending on where it was harvested from depends on a lot. And so you just want to make sure that you tell that herb what you want it to do or what to do. Okay? Now here's another thing that I can tell you. As far as like taking precautions, don't burn it. Don't put it in your simmer pot. And try not to touch it with your hands. Use gloves while you use it, um, and keep it put away. But from what my spirit guides were telling me, is that at the same time that you purchase it, you should also have angelica root. Okay. Now, to me, angelica root, what that is that it would sort of be an opposite, okay, a complete opposite, because angelica root, it connects you to the angelic realm and divine energies. Angelica root is protection, it's emotional healing, purification, and then it's grounding, okay? So, but for some reason, Spirit told me, to that it would be good advice to, if you're going to buy mandrake root, to go ahead and buy the angelica root with it, okay? Because what it will do is it will counteract, okay, whatever evil that could be connected to that plant, or either whatever sickness it could bring on. And angelica root wards off evil spirits and protects against the plague and sickness. And it does about the same thing that mandrake root does. So, if you didn't want to be bothered with it, then you wouldn't necessarily have to. Okay? What was my reasons for getting it? Um, it's personal as to why, it's because it was very, sometimes spiritually we can be dealing with some serious stuff, and mandrake root is very potent. Okay. In fact, I've tried to find the planet association to mandrake root, and it's connected to Earth, apparently. Um, like I would have thought it would have been connected to Mars or Pluto, but it's actually connected to dark Earth spirits. Okay, it was thought to be in the power of dark Earth spirits, so that would be one of the few herbs, because I've looked up herbs that are herbs of the earth, and maybe I haven't looked it up good enough, but um, I don't know. That the herbs that we have here, it's one of the few. So So I think that depending on your level of comfortability, your level of understanding, or if you're a beginner, which I wouldn't have it because the energies that come from it might be pretty heavy. It almost felt like for me, and I've got the mandrake root in the pieces. Okay, I don't have the whole root, but to me, what it seemed like it was doing was literally pulling the negativity out, and it was also bringing some things to the surface that needed to be brought to the surface and then um, purged and banished. Oh, and it is connected to the planet Mercury as well. But from what I could see on our friend Google, of course it's connected to the root chakra. But then again, it's also connected to the third eye. So it's a serious herb that I think that if you're intermediate or advanced in your knowledge, you should definitely have, especially if you have a serious situation that's going on. You know what I mean? Um, one of the things that I would say, one of the reasons why you would want some mandrake is if you are receiving death threats or if you're dealing with a lot of people trying to throw death magic at you. Okay, mandrake would be something that you would almost have to get. Okay, or if you are experiencing love issues, you know what I mean? Like certain love issues that are complicated, maybe love curses, and maybe even love issues that are very deeply rooted within your family. Maybe if there's a lot of trauma surrounding love, maybe if there is a lot of complicated situations, I feel that mandrake root would be necessary. Okay. Um, so, but the thing of it is that listen, um, so I would keep it in a black bag or box even. Maybe, keep it in the plastic, keep it in a bag and keep it put up, and you want to handle and treat that particular herb. You don't want to just kind of slap it around. You know what I mean? Because it is a very sacred herb, the mandrake, and you'll want to make sure that you never take for granted the power that that you're holding in your hands. But also, just if you feel any kind of nervousness around it, get you some angelica root, okay? And see, angelica root, that is one of the herbs that you are actually able to put in your simmer pot or boil it in your cauldrons and stuff, okay? Um, but, otherwise, that is pretty much it. I just wanted to talk to you guys about um, mandrake root. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Make sure that you guys please hit that thumbs up. I appreciate it so much. And then you can also subscribe. And I do offer readings and classes. My newest is I'm teaching shamanism, actually, or teaching the shamans, reconnecting the shamans. And so you guys are more than welcome to visit the website. I do also do work for people, spells and rituals and things of that nature. And so you can visit my website, divineservicesapothecary.com. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Blessings. Bye-bye.